Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I really hope you are all well. I did not set out to film this video today. I had something completely different planned, but it wasn't particularly inspiring me, so I was like, I'm gonna park that idea, save it for another day, and I'm gonna get on with some things that I have been wanting to take off my list for a while. I've spoken a little bit recently about feeling a bit overwhelmed with plants and it's like just a never-ending list of things. I've had a bit of a clear out. And one of the things that I really have been wanting to do is actually start potting some of my duplicate plants up together to kind of create much bigger, fuller plants and get some things out of prop boxes and actually start to appreciate some new plants new plants that are already in my collection, you know, because I a lot of the time could be so good at looking online and seeing plants and being like, oh, that's exciting, I need to buy that. And actually I've got loads of things that are really exciting that I almost forget about sometimes. So yeah, that's the plan for today. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, I've brought over a ton of things that I am actually really quite excited about, and I was like, if I tackle these first, I feel like it will just give me the motivation to power on through and get loads done. So as always, if you've got things to do as well, by all means grab some plants, do some repotting, do some potting up, do some delving into prop boxes, whatever you need to do. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So one of the things that I spotted the other day and is making me really excited is I popped some Alocasia corms into sphagnum moss in this little jar, and I've just had them under grow lights for the last, I think, about a month and a half. And I'm excited, in fact, about all of the ones in here because I put a little mix in. But this one here that has sprouted, the kind of bluey one, that is an Alocasia mellow, and I just couldn't figure out the mother plant before. I had the Alocasia mellow and it looked beautiful. I thought it was such a cool plant, but I don't know why. I just really struggled to grow it, and I kind of took it out of soil eventually and I was like, oh, it does have some corms. So this is gonna be attempt number 2, and it's obviously germinated quite quickly and it has given me like quite a sizable leaf. There are some other little Alocasia leaves that are starting to sprout in there, but this one is definitely the biggest and best. And if I remember correctly, the way that I grew it before was in soil, and I typically don't get on that well with Alocasia in soil, which is funny because I know in their natural habitats they are plants that do quite well in, I was going to say quite a dense mix, that's not the right way of putting it. They do grow naturally as terrestrial plants, but they grow quite close to water, meaning that they do like quite a lot of moisture. And I think the thing that I often struggle with is when I grow them in soil, I end up overwatering and then they turn to mush and then the plant is doomed. So typically I love going in with semi-hydro for Alocasia, and that is what I think I'm going to do here. So I've just taken them out of the little jar and you can see so many roots at the bottom, which is making me so happy. And I think, I should have labelled these, but I didn't. But I think that one that I've already shown you is the Alocasia mellow. In fact, I'm certain that one is, because you can see by like the texture of it, it's kind of got like a slightly bumpy texture. I think this one is an Alocasia green shield, which I spoke about in a video recently. It's an Alocasia I really struggle with. So in fact, I might rehome that little corm. And then I believe this one here, which hasn't actually fully unfurled the leaf yet. I don't even know if you can see it that well on camera, but I think that's an Alocasia dragon's breath, heterophylla. And that I'm really excited about as well, because the mother plant of that is actually getting ready to give me a new leaf, but has been stuck very much in the 2-leaf club for a long time. So I'd like to be able to pot that back up with the mother plant. Yeah, and I don't know if today's the right day to do it. I don't even know if it's ready yet. But yeah, just hopefully in the long run, make that plant a little bit fuller. But the one that I just want to divide for the time being is the little Alocasia mellow. because I'd really like to get that started as its own little plant. It's an Alocasia that I know quite a few people have said they struggle with. It's one of these like Marmite plants, it seems, that like you either get it or you don't. And I feel like on the whole, I'm pretty experienced with Alocasia. Like there are some like the green shield that I do find quite difficult, but on the whole, I feel like I can kind of figure them out. And this one, yeah, just did nothing. I had it for maybe 8 months and it didn't give me one single leaf. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Tick box wise, everything was correct. So yeah, round 2, I'm hoping it should be a little bit easier. I know it's so small you can't really see what I'm doing, but there we go. I've just taken it out of the sphagnum moss and it's got a really nice little root system. It is a very little root system. So I think I'm gonna need to pot it in quite a small container. And the other ones, I think for the time being, I'm just gonna pop back into the little jar and I'm gonna let them keep propping. Just tuck some of the sphagnum moss I just took out back into the jar as well, because they're not pushing out of the jar in the same way as this one was. So I will come back to them maybe in a week or 2 and decide what I'm gonna do. As I say, the green shield corm, I think I might rehome. Or pot up with the mother plant again and make it fuller, but I don't know. I just feel in a bit of a stuck cycle with that plant at the moment. But I brought over, in fact, this might even be too big. I brought over a jar and I was like, I'm gonna, as I say, go in with semi-hydro. I also just brought some clean water. I'm just gonna give these roots a gentle rinse off and just try and get as much sphagnum moss off them as I possibly can, just to avoid rotting. And you know, I think this should be all right. Just have to monitor things very closely when you first transition little roots to semi-hydro, because a lot of the time they won't have, it's a weird way of saying it, but they won't have the root system that they need in order to survive in semi-hydro yet. And actually, if you do the transfer with like a bigger, more mature plant, it's easier to sometimes kind of see the transition, because when you put them into semi-hydro, I'm trying to see if I've got an example. Try and explain. When you put them into semi-hydro, a lot of the time they will start putting out like a different type of root, almost like a more spindly, fragile root that goes all the way down to the bottom and kind of reaches for the moisture more. And you'll find that if you have been growing them in an organic matter such as moss or soil, often that doesn't happen. So yeah, it's always a little bit of a transition, but I want to say I have the faith that this little one can take it. If it was any other type of Alocasia, I would have no concern at all. But there we go, I've rinsed as much of the moss off as I possibly can. And those are the roots it's got. And I am loving chunky semi-hydro at the moment for pretty much all of my plants. I know I was obsessed with the finer stuff for a while, and actually what I've got here in this box is a mix of fine and chunky. So that is what I'm going to be working with for all of them. It kind of, a bit of a mix up, it kind of just looks like that. So yeah, I think that should be fine for these little roots. I might fill it a little bit shallower than I usually would. Like I might fill the semi-hydro to about there instead of all the way to the top. And then as the plant grows, I can just fill it up more and more and more to give it more room. Yeah, so I mean I think that's all right. And I'm just going to pop this in, spread its little roots very gently, and then just cover the base of the rhizome with more semi-hydro. There we go. And I know sometimes I say, and I'll fill the reservoir after this video, but because it's got such little roots, I did actually bring my squeegee bottle over, and I'm just going to fill a little reservoir for it now, because if those roots start to dry out, which will happen, I was going to say in seconds, which is an exaggeration, but it can happen so fast when they're that thin and fragile, then obviously the roots will not be able to be used by the plant. So yeah, it's got a little reservoir at the bottom like that. And I think what I'll do is I probably will keep it in the exact same position that I've been keeping the little jar that it's been propagating in, which is under one of my grow lights on these shelves here. I might even cover it with a little cup lid or something for the first week or so, just to help it kind of acclimate and adjust. And I really hope that this is the start of good things for this plant, because it's a plant that I've wanted to grow for ages but just haven't found the knack with yet. So yeah, that's what it's looking like. It's very small, very adorable, and hopefully it does well. I do hope so. This is a really great time of year. Actually, today is a bad example because it's chucking it down with rain. But this is a really great time of year to kind of be starting plants off afresh. Like, it's why lots of people choose to just repot at this time of year, because the plants have got so many elements that they need to thrive and survive. Like, I think primarily heat at this time of year. Obviously the light is so much better, but as someone that does use grow lights a lot in their collection, like, I can obviously replicate that a fair amount. But yeah, heat makes such a massive difference, and I feel like for that reason, touch wood, we should be in the safe zone. And in fact, let's do this one next. My Anthurium clarinervium, this is my mother plant. And I have been saying recently, as I say, that I want to pot up things to make my life easier. I've got this gorgeous little baby clarinervium, which is one of the ones that I grew from seed from the plant that I pollinated. And in fact, before I combined them, this one actually is currently giving me an inflorescence, which you won't be able to see just at the top here. And it is, you see all those little droplets? It is producing stigmatic fluid, and basically what it means when it does that is that it's in the female stage, which means it's receptive and it can be pollinated. And I have got some clarinervium pollen. I don't know if it's going to be any good because it has been in the freezer for months and months and months. But I'm going to give it a go, because why the heck not? I would love to cross-pollinate this one, but the only other pollen I've got to hand is Pallidiflorum pollen, and I'm still trying to get my head around which anthuriums can be crossed with which, but I'm pretty certain the Pallidiflorum cannot be crossed with the clarinervium. In fact, the clarinervium is one that is quite... like, there's not many hybrids that you see of the clarinervium. Like, you constantly see crystallinum hybrids, and clarinervium is just not quite as common. So yeah, we'll give it a go. I'm hoping I labelled it. Did I label it? Pallidiflorum. Just labelled them in tin foil, which in fact is not clear at all, but to my eyes it is. Oh good, that's not labelled. There's another one in here as well. What's this? Oh God, okay. Okay, so I've got two pollens that I don't know what they are. So shall I just take the risk? I've got two paintbrushes in here as well, which are clean. So maybe if I pop the Pallidiflorum pollen back into the freezer bag, maybe I could use a little bit of both and just see what happens. I might end up with some weird hybrid berries. Oh, in fact, there's barely anything in here. I don't even think it's worth showing the camera because I don't think you'll be able to see. I can see like a very fine dust. I don't know what that is. So actually, in fact, let's put that to one side for a second and let's have a look and see what's in this one. I'm usually quite good at labelling them, I don't know why. I didn't think that was necessary. I don't know why I thought I'd remember. Oh, you know what? This one's actually kind of the same, and I'm wondering if maybe they've just been in the freezer for too long. The Pallidiflorum pollen is more recent. Maybe this is crystallinum. It could be a few things. So, you know what? If I'm going to scrap these two pollens anyway, because there's not a lot in there, I'm just going to take my paintbrush, wipe up anything, if it is there. It might not even be there or usable, but I'm just going to do my best, and I'm going to just run my paintbrush over the inflorescence. Yeah, this might mean nothing, but may as well give it a little go. In fact, let's just help the end of that out, because even on the sections that aren't producing stigmatic fluids, you can still pollinate them. And let's do the exact same with the other one. We might be lucky, or we might not be. You'll never know if you never try. Okay, that's as covered as it can be in what I've got. As I say, I don't think there's even any point in trying the Pallidiflorum pollen, because I just don't think that's a hybrid that is possible, but we'll see if anything happens with that. I'm just going to scrap these two here because there's really nothing else in there, and I will give this a proper rinse out before I put it back in the pack. And then, yeah, the Pallidiflorum pollen will go back in the freezer. My Pallidiflorum is giving me, so it's actually producing berries at the moment, and I'll put a clip in of what they look like. In fact, I'll show you. So, oh my God, also it's giving me the craziest leaf. But currently, this is in fructescence that has been pollinated. That's what it's looking like. You can see the berries are starting to form. No idea how long it's going to take until harvest, but I would predict at least another few months. But I must just show you the size of the leaf it's currently giving me. I'm not sure if you can gauge quite how big that is, so I'm just going to go and stand next to this leaf. Can you see that? This is still hardening off as well, so this is still growing. It did get a little rip in it towards the bottom, which I'm very sad about. But yeah, I'm going to have to think about what the heck I do with this plant, because I'm loving the fact it's growing so well and it's growing so big. But if, like, this leaf is probably about 2 inches off the floor currently, and every single leaf seems to have just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Also, just look at the thickness of this leaf. That's it compared to my hand. It's crazy. So yeah, if it keeps, oh, got my linearis going down my neck. If it keeps growing at that rate, I don't know where I'm going to put it. And I was speaking to a friend about this the other day, and she was like, oh, you're going to have to start pruning it back. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. I really, really don't. It's a plant that I love so much, and I have loved growing it so big, so much. I do have slightly higher ceilings in my living room, so in theory, I could create some kind of very high shelf, but it would involve using grow lights. I'm not sure how Ross would feel about that. He's a bit anti-grow light in the living room, so we'll wait and see. We'll have to have that chat when things get serious, which is going to be the next leaf. But what I was going to say before I got distracted is that the Pallidiflorum is currently giving me another inflorescence. And I know a while ago I was debating whether or not to pollinate the plant again, because I was like, I don't want it to really stunt the growth. That clearly isn't happening. So I think when the new inflorescence opens and starts producing stigmatic fluids, I am going to go ahead and I am going to pollinate the plant again, because if I can just keep growing loads of berries, I think that's fun. But with the Clarinervium, what I was thinking is I don't know if I'm even going to have to unpot the mother plant in order to combine it. I kind of feel like maybe I could just like dig a little hole in the soil here and tuck the baby in there. This one actually is growing in terracotta. Oh, and I did water it the other day, so this might be a little bit messy. But a lot of the time a lot of the time I have heard that terracotta is not good for Anthurium. And I do understand why people say that, because obviously it's very dense. It doesn't allow for breathability in the same way as using something like a tower pot like that. But I do grow a lot of my Anthuriums very successfully in terracotta. In fact, my Pallidiflorum is a prime example. That one's in terracotta and it's doing really well. You do just have to water them maybe slightly more than you would do if you were growing in like plastic or something. But that's got a lovely little root system on it. Look at that. Oh, I'm so proud of my little baby. This one, I've said it before, is such a long one from pollination to harvest. I pollinated my Anthurium clarinervium. I can try digging the hole as well while we talk. I tried pollinating my Anthurium clarinervium when I was living back at my mum's house, which was, I think, over 3 years ago now. It's been a while. And the berries weren't ready to harvest until I moved into my old flat. And I think it had been over a year from pollination to harvest. I know not all types of Anthurium are quite that slow. Also, I'm doing this and it's not quite working. So I'm going to just remove some of the soil and put it to one side, and then I can pop it back in just a moment. Oh my God, this one's got crazy roots. But yeah, not all Anthuriums are apparently quite as slow as that. Some of them can be much quicker. So I have no idea with the Pallidiflorum. It seems to be producing berries really quite quickly, considering I only pollinated it a month and a half ago. I really love to do some hybridization though. I really want to start making little crosses of my Anthuriums. I just haven't had compatible pollen yet. So I do hope, and I've been saying it for ages, but I do hope this is the year of that. But I don't know. Do any of you guys know what the Anthurium vitarifolium can be crossed with? It's the long strappy one that kind of looks similar to the Pallidiflorum. It just hasn't got the velvety leaves, and it hasn't got, in fact, again, I'll show you. In fact, let me take this one down. Yeah, this one, because this one is producing so many inflorescences. It's got one there at the moment, in fact. And I've heard that this can self-pollinate very easily, but I haven't had any pollen. I've tried everything I've had at every stage, but nothing has worked so far. So yeah, as I say, if any of you are experienced in Anthurium pollination and have any intel on that, please let me know. But yeah, that was a very easy and quick combine, but look, isn't that cute? And then yeah, the plant will start filling out even more from the bottom now, and hopefully eventually I'll be able to have a lovely big full clarinervium, because I had, well, in fact, I think this was part of it. When I was back at my mum's, I had a lovely big full one and I divided it and I chopped it right back, and then I think it got thrips or spider mites or something. And yeah, the plant just has become more and more sparse over the years. So yeah, that's the start of it filling out, and one less thing for me to care for, which is good. I'm going in a strange order here, but I don't care. Also, and again, this is another exciting one, I did my Malvern haul video a couple of weeks ago, when I got back from Malvern, and I showed you some of the plants that I got there, one of which was given to me by one of you guys, actually, by Rosie. And it's the Begonia Iron Cross, and this one I showed you at the time like had amazing roots, was propping like as half leaf cuttings, which is something I've never had success with Begonia, like ever. From my research over the last few days, I have heard multiple times that it's much easier to propagate a Rex Begonia this way as opposed to a cane Begonia, which makes sense because most of the begonias that I've got at the moment are cane begonias, and they're the ones that I've never had luck doing this with, so maybe that's why. But it's the Begonia Iron Cross, and since I showed you it, look at all of these little leaves that are starting to pop up. They are so adorable. So I was like, maybe, considering it had good roots the last time I checked it, maybe I could actually pot this up today and get it going as its own full plant. And I think I want to do this in semi-hydro just because I have had the most success with Begonia in semi-hydro. I know I mentioned the other day as well about certain begonias like my Begonia Sinbad, which at one point, up until actually quite recently, was the apple of my eye and I absolutely loved. Like, there's a lot that I'm not happy with, and I think it does come down to the structure of cane begonias and how they can look very straggly very quickly. Cane begonias, for any of you that aren't aware, are basically, it's kind of in the name, but are ones that just have, this is actually one that's doing really well, but have more of like a caney vining structure as opposed to something such as this one, which is one of my favourites at the moment, which is more kind of self-heading and comes like on its own stems. There's a better way of saying that, isn't there? But yes, structure-wise just isn't quite as caney. I think we all know what I mean, don't we? But yeah, so I think the long and the short of it is I'm definitely not giving up with Begonia. I think some of the foliage on Begonias is the thing that really caught me, and that's what caught me about the Sinbad. I've also got this one as well, which is not a typical Clare plant. This one, I always want to call it the Maori Haze, but I don't think it is. It might be, and again, I always want to say Maori Sunset, but it might be Maori. I always think Maori is in New Zealand, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, really lovely. And again, structure-wise, similar to the Goegoensis, it is a Rex begonia. But I think I am being more drawn towards Rex, just because they seem more consistent. They don't start to look bad when they grow. You seem to be able to chop them back a little bit more. I haven't had experience propagating that much, but again, maybe this is the way to go. So there's a few of these that don't have amazing roots yet, so I might leave some of them in here, but the ones that are starting to put out the new growth, oh yeah, I want to be so careful doing this. I'm just going to get as much of the soil off as I can. This might actually be easier to just do in water, but then yeah, I've got my little water bowl here. Oh yes, so much easier. I'm just going to give them a really good rinse off and get as much as I can off. It doesn't need to be everything. And then yeah, I really hope that when I pop them into this new way of growing, they'll start to really size up quite quickly. I've been Googling pictures of what the mother plant, or this plant in its mature form, should I say, looks like. And I'll put some pictures on the screen. It's so beautiful. I'm really excited about it. It's one that I can imagine if it gets pests, it's a bit of a nightmare because it's got that kind of bumpy, hairy texture to its leaves. And often if pests get into the little nooks and crannies and that, it is a nightmare. But touch wood, I never want to jinx things, but touch wood, pest stuff hasn't been awful since I moved in here. I have, however, noticed, I can't remember if I was saying this on here or on Patreon, but I have noticed since we've been going in and out from the garden a lot more, I have had pests in this room more, and I'm sure there is a correlation. In fact, we've got loads of dandelions on our lawn at the moment, and I picked a dandelion the other day and I was just looking in the middle of it and I saw these little black insects, and I looked closer and I was like, they're thrips. I don't know why, I think probably because I'm way more of an indoor gardener than an outdoor gardener, and I've only just got a garden. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen thrips on an outdoor plant before. So it felt a bit weird, but I can see very much how we might be accidentally bringing them inside without meaning to. Also, I'm going to have to work quite quickly again. In fact, I'm going to pop these little ones, I've just rinsed off the roots, Got the majority of the soil off that, there's a little bit, I'm not too worried. I'm just going to pop them into cling film with a little bit of water to stay hydrated whilst I do the other ones. God, some of them are so rooted in here to the point that I can hardly take them out. On the note of Rex begonias though, please let me know some of your favourites, because like begonia as a genus is still so incredibly new to me. And also, I guess if you are someone that very successfully grows cane begonia, can you let me know what you do to stop it from going raggedy? Because I don't know. I find that they're obviously quite thirsty plants, and if you lose a couple of leaves and you kind of trim a section back, it will just look really sparse and really unhappy, and that just doesn't give me grower satisfaction, and that just makes me go, okay, well, I don't really know why I'm bothering with this plant because it's just annoying, you know? But ones like the Begonia Sinbad, I don't want to fall out of love with that plant. I don't want to have to get rid of it because it's just got the most beautiful foliage. If only they all grew like this. But yeah, Rex begonias, let me know your suggestions. I've got several on my wish list already. I believe the Paulensis is a Rex begonia, and that in fact grows quite similarly, I think, to, again, the Goegoensis, the one that I'm clearly obsessing over at the moment. Yeah, that one also, oh, I've done a Google of that one, and that one can get really big in the same way as the Paulensis. So I really hope I can grow it that well and I can bring out the best in it. Because there's something about those like gorgeous round leaves that's just so jolly. It just makes me really happy. It's been a really fun one to grow, actually. That's one, I've said it before, I've got quite a lot of the begonias in my collection from a woman called India who is Begonia Addict on Instagram. And she, I think, might have sent me that one. In fact, I think she did. She very kindly, I think because I bought so many begonias from her last year, just before Christmas, she very kindly just sent me some that she thought I'd like. And I think that was one of them. And yeah, it's now fast becoming one of my favourites. I was going to say one of my favourite begonias, but actually, right now, I think one of my favourite plants. I'll just show you it again, just so we can appreciate its beauty. And also, okay, so that's what it looks like. It's so cool. Look at those leaves. But the thing I love about it is when its little leaves come in, I'm going to try my best to show you this, but oh, can you see that little pink dot just there? That is a new leaf starting to come in, and it's just adorable. I can show you it from the side as well. You see it? I love how they come in so teeny tiny and they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that was its last leaf it gave me, so I'm hoping the next one should be even bigger again. And I know I was talking about like dabbling in begonia pollination and stuff like that. This might be a very naive thing to say. I'm, as I say, not that familiar with the genus. But I have no idea. I would have thought they can't, but I have no idea if Rex and cane begonia can be crossed. I don't know if they can. I don't think they would be able to, but if they could, that would be interesting. Because I know what's it called? I'm looking at it. The one that I showed you here, the one that I can't remember the name of now for some reason, but that one makes beautiful cane hybrids. I've seen loads and loads and loads of hybrid plants come from, God, the name is escaping me, but whatever that one is. And yeah, I don't know as much about pollination in Rex begonias. Please educate me. I love learning from you guys, and so many of you have such interesting facts and knowledge about things that I have no clue about. So yeah, hit me with your wisdom. This section here has actually got loads of babies coming up, and at the back of this leaf, I'll show you in a minute, but you can actually see like how it's all started, and it's really cool. yeah. So those are the little leaves that it's giving. And if you look at the back of the leaf there, look at that. So amazing, isn't it? Nature is so clever. Just imagine in its natural habitat, just like a bit of leaf getting broken off and falling to the floor, and it just naturally propagates itself. It's amazing. So yeah, I'm going to leave that bit to keep rooting because that hasn't rooted at all yet. And I think that's it. To be honest, I could just, I'm so bad at being like, oh, you don't need that bit, throw it away. I am going to keep propagating it because then I can pot it up with this section once it's rooted. So as I say, I'm going to go in again with semi-hydro for this one, just because all of the begonias that, I know I've already said this, but all of the begonias that I'm growing successfully are currently growing in semi-hydro. So it's just a way that I am finding just nice and easy, not too strenuous. And again, I'm going to pot them a little bit lower than I might do for something that has a bigger root system, just because they are such young things. Their roots should start to develop even more quite quickly. I have found with begonia that I've potted in this way from soil that they do take very, very quickly. So I do hope that's the case with these ones. Be careful not to squash the little new leaves as I do this, because it's so fragile and delicate. Again, I think I will probably cover, in fact I've got the cling film here, I'm just going to reuse this cling film to cover these ones. Yeah, so all of the roots are covered. I'm going to hydrate again in the same way as I did before. And because I put quite a thick layer of semi-hydro on the bottom, I can actually use quite a thick layer of water as well, and that can kind of wick up, so yeah, done about that much water. And now, as I say, because I've potted them like that and they're not coming to the top yet, I'm just going to use the cling film to put over them again, just to keep humidity nice and high. And I really hope that in the next, I don't know, maybe the next few days I can remove that. I think they shouldn't take long to adjust, especially considering how quickly they've taken off since I've got them. It's literally been a matter of weeks. But yeah, I'm gonna come back to them in a few days, maybe a week or so, and I'll let you know how they're doing. But I'm really, really excited about them. I've actually created a little begonia corner down here on my shelves, and they all just seem to be doing so well in that spot. It's actually one of my shelves that doesn't have grow lights, but I think just like the low level of light in that little shady space is quite good for them. So yeah, I hope that they will just keep growing and just keep giving me lovely growth and do great things. I'm also looking at my little Begonia chloristicta, which was not on my to-do list for today. However, contemplating putting it on my to-do list. This is a cane begonia, but it's such a beautiful one. Again, like foliage-wise, it's just gorgeous. And you probably can't tell on camera, but it's also velvet leafed. These leaves are so teeny as well, but they've got that gorgeous outline going around the outside. And I got this one, I got this as a bigger plant when I was still back at the flat, maybe like 4 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that. I think it was just before Christmas, if I remember correctly. And it was doing okay when I got it. I actually ordered it from a seller in Spain, and I didn't realise this when I put in the order, and then I was like, oh, that's quite a long way for it to travel in quite cold conditions. But it bounced back okay, but it's just one I've never got on brilliantly with. I think maybe it should head towards a terrarium or something, but obviously being a cane begonia, that would need to be quite a big terrarium. So again, maybe if I revamp my cabinet and turn that into a big terrarium space, maybe I'll do that then. And then, okay, so this is a bit of a, this is just, okay, so many things. Before I get onto that, this is just an exciting thing that I brought over to show you, that I opened up one of my prop boxes and I was like, oh my goodness, yay. My Anthurium veitchii, remember my Anthurium veitchii? That's been in a prop box for the last however long, and it's got a couple of really decent leaves on it. I think, in fact, it's probably ready to come out of the prop box. I'm just growing it in this little jar, which is not ideal for it, so maybe a few of you were actually saying semi-hydro was the way forward for veitchii, so maybe I do that today. Ooh. Yeah, I didn't actually think I would do that, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. Because yeah, the veitchii is one that I always ogle over when I see in other people's collections or I see online, and I always forget that I've got it because, yeah, I just have struggled with it. Okay, let me go and have a look and see what little container I might be able to find to grow that one. I think I do want to go with semi-hydro just because so many of you have said that that's the way that you have success. So let me go and see if I've got any more decent jars or containers. Okay, so I've got a cup. I've got a plastic cup that is definitely going to offer more root space than what it's got at the moment. And I think should do okay just for the time being. I've got so many planty things that I need to get. I'm running so low on some of my substrates. I'm completely out of sphagnum moss. In fact, there were several things that I wanted to do today and I was like, oh, I still haven't ordered moss. I often, again, this is just like procrastination brain, but I will often know that I need to do things like a simple task like ordering moss, and I will find every reason to do something else. Does anyone else do that? I do it with all sorts of things. I'll like justify, oh no, but you need to do this first, or you need to do that, or you need to do this other really unimportant task, and I just won't get basic things done, which is so silly. Whereas in reality, it would take all of 2 minutes. I just need to do it. But yeah, I just need to have a little stock up in general of planty supplies because I haven't bought any supplies. Oh, yay, great roots. I haven't bought any supplies in a while. Again, I think since I moved in here. Oh my goodness, this makes me so happy. Hey, little guy. Oh, what lovely, healthy roots. That's a pretty well-established root system, actually. That's better than I expected it to be. And they are all so full and healthy, considering as well it's been growing in soil in no drainage, which isn't always the best way of doing things. I'm not quite sure why I did that. But again, yeah, just give them a good rinse off before I put them in semi-hydro. The other thing that I haven't done yet and I need to do, and again I'm massively putting off, is all of the plants that were in my cabinet that I wanted to change out substrates with because of root mealybugs. I have not done that. They're all still through in the kitchen. I look at them every day and I think I need to do that, and I just haven't got around to it, or I've prioritised other things, and realistically that is something that I need to do kind of ASAP, especially the ones that actually do have or suspected root mealies. It's always quite hard to tell when you grow things in perlite as well, but that Hoya calamantan that I showed you, I'm sure that's root mealybugs. Any of those Hoyas, in fact, I think instead of trying to get rid of the bugs, I might just chop up and start again because they are so quick to root. And in fact, one of the things on my potential to-do list today was to pot up my Hoya Wilburgraves, which is the first one that I found root mealybugs on. And I think that was a month ago or so, and I probably should have taken everything out of my cabinet at that stage and checked everything then. I think because I haven't really dealt with root mealybugs before, I'm just like, I don't know, kind of, it sounds so silly to say, like, how would they spread so easily? But I guess also I do sometimes reuse my water. I pour it into my washing up bowl and then I'll reuse it. So I think definitely for those plants, I need to not do that for a little while until they're all in the clear. I have had a careful check over everything in the main space here. Can't see anything. Can't see anything at all, thank goodness. But I'm going to be keeping everything under very close supervision. Okay, I'm pretty happy. It's a bit confusing because the base of the plant is very dark and it looks like there's loads of soil at the base, and that's actually not soil. Those roots, I would say like 90% of the soil's off them, and I'm happy with that. So, yay, let's go in and pot this baby up. Potting into semi-hydro is the quickest thing. I always am like, let's do this big repot, and then it takes all of 30 seconds. But I'm so looking forward to growing this one again. Also, on the note of anthuriums, my anthuriums are going crazy right now. My Regal Magnificum hybrid, I'll show you it in a minute, that is giving me another new leaf, and I predict this new leaf is kind of getting to the point of like pallidiflorum. I think this new leaf is going to be ginormous. The last one it gave me was about that big, and they have got so much bigger each time. This one has only just started like unfurling, and you know how they size up loads? It's already about that big, so I'm like, where am I going to put it? I know that sounds like such a silly thing, because I've literally just moved house and I've got so much space. I feel so lucky. But I think it's just at this time of year. I think I'm either at some point gonna have to have an even bigger downsize, which I don't want to have to do. And either bigger downsize, figure out some new ways of growing, like maybe getting an outdoor greenhouse and trying a few things like that. Or getting rid of some plants in order to grow others big, pruning back. I don't know. I don't want to do any. Well, I potentially want to create an outdoor greenhouse, but I don't want to prune back, and I don't want to get rid of a lot of them. Cool. Right, let's see how that one gets on. I think this is the 4th time I've reset this plant, chopped it back to nothing and started again. So let's hope this is the time that it goes right. I've never, ever tried it in pure semi-hydro before. So let's hope this is the way forward. But the one that I was about to show you before I just got distracted with the Veitchii is my Aphelandra squarosa, which is currently looking like that. And again, this was given, in fact, this wasn't given to me. This was given to Ross by one of you guys at the plant swap last year. And it's been in a prop box pretty much since I got it. And I have grown this plant in the past, and it's been one that I found quite difficult. Like, it does like a lot of moisture. And it does like a lot of humidity, which explains, oh my God, which explains why it's been doing so well in the prop box. Oh my God, do I have the energy for this right now? So it's rooting in sphagnum moss, and it has been, as I say, for quite a long time. Look at those roots. I feel like that's going to take hours to sit down and detangle. Let's just see how easily they pull away. Oh, you know what? Okay, maybe it's not awful. But yeah, again, this is one I'm going to have to kind of keep hydrating as I go, because these roots are going to dry out so fast because they're so spindly. But yeah, again, I have only ever grown the Aphelandra squarosa in soil before, and I'm thinking, like, do I try semi-hydro? Maybe I try semi-hydro. mainly because it's pretty much what I've got at the moment. I have got some soil, but I'm all for like making plant care as low maintenance whilst I'm dealing with like, not that this is a new plant, but like it's one I'm taking out of the prop box and bringing it into my collection. Yeah, I'm all for making things as low maintenance as I can. So I also know from looking at this plant that it does propagate very easily. So I guess hypothetically, I could try it in semi-hydro, and then if it's not doing good things, then I can just put it back in the prop box. But yeah, it's got the most beautiful foliage, and I'd really like to keep it happy. Someone was asking me the other day actually if I still have my Philodendron Splendid, and yes, that's still in a prop box as well. I've got so many things in prop boxes or propagating that I need to prioritise. I need to, before I even think about getting any new plants for myself that are like, I don't know, potential duplicates, I need to think about the ones that I've already got. Because you do just forget about them sometimes. I've still got sections of my Pink Princess as well, which, to be honest, I am not that excited by. I think because if you've been on my channel for a while, you'll probably remember my ginormous Pink Princess. I grew her from a one-leaf cutting. She got to the point where she was giving me leaves like that, and I think she was taller than me. If you go back to videos when I first moved into, or when I was at my mum's house, until I first moved into my flat, she was doing amazingly. Didn't acclimate well, and to be honest, I kind of fell out of love with her at the flat. I don't quite know why. There just, I don't know, wasn't the enthusiasm there that I had for her before, and I don't know why that was. But when I did take cuttings, I was like, okay, I'm absolutely going to propagate, I'm going to start again. And I've got loads propagating, and I just haven't started again, nor have I really had the desire to start again. So yeah, I'm kind of keeping things back with the idea of like, oh, I could plant swap them and whatnot. But the weird thing is that so many people now, I think I've just kind of gone past the craze of the Pink Princess. It is so funny how, and I'm sure this is social media influence, but how plants like just go in phases. Like I said this, I'm sure I said this after the last plant swap that I went to. I went with loads of what I thought were really cool philodendrons and things that, like the Geneva Vivianum that I showed you the other day, I was like, not many people grow that plant, like, oh, this is going to be exciting. And everyone was just after Anthuriums. Whereas if I'd gone 6 months prior, I know for a fact that's a plant that people would have been really excited about, you know? I think people are definitely moving away from climbing plants just because they take, I mean, moss poles do take a lot of maintenance, and they also take up a lot of space. And I must say, although I've still got several plants that I do grow on moss poles, like on the whole, I have definitely downsized in moss pole. I think at one point I had, maybe like 25 plants on moss poles, and all of those plants started getting very big, and now I think I've got 5 or 6 plants on moss poles, and even some of them I've like turned to stakes and stuff like that. The big section of my Monstera dubia, actually, that is more than ready to be potted. And I'm like, I want to grow that one on a moss pole because I know that's how it does the best. But where the heck am I going to put that plant? That plant is so big. I think I'm going to have to just like start having things facing out there, maybe. I don't know. But that actually really didn't take long. I'm going to just, again, give the roots a bit of a rinse off. But that's got such a good root system, and that pulled away much easier than I thought it would. So just give them a really good rinse. I know a lot of people would be saying you should be changing your water, and maybe I should, but I'm not. It's funny, like if I was doing things with other people's plants, I'd be so much more vigilant than I would be a lot of the time on my own. I just always say, use your common sense. And like, for example, if I was dealing with a plant that had root mealybugs or had any kind of like cause for concern, anything at all, like root rots, I would be like, don't cross-contaminate. But if it looks fine and the plant seems fine, I will go ahead and reuse things. And typically, I don't seem to have issues doing it that way, so it's what works for me. But then again, my God, container-wise, I'm rinsing the containers. I'm gonna have to go back to the cupboard of chaos and see what we've got. Do we have another cup? I do have another cup. So that is what we will use for this plant. I thought it was significantly bigger than the one it's in, and it's actually not that much bigger. But I'm not going to size up root-wise too quickly. I think this should be fine. Are there any plants that you guys have like rediscovered recently, having had in prop boxes? It's often, oh, it's so much fun, isn't it? I think it's the joy of having plants and being able to do things like create little propagation boxes. You can just leave them, forget about them, and then go back to them and be like, oh my God, so much cool stuff has been going on that I wouldn't have known about. Like, it's just like a nice surprise. Like, you can come back to a whole box of new plants, essentially. Going to be quite tight, actually. I think maybe this might be a temporary thing, because I think this is going to outgrow this pot quite quickly. I mean, it'll do for the time being. I've still got so many ideas for projects and stuff that I want to do and just kind of got started on. I obviously want to get the upstairs cabinet, my little cabinet, sorted out at some point. It's currently in the spare room. I did want to as well put up the wire shelves that I had, the ones that I had all of my plants in my big windows at the flat. I wanted to put them up in the spare room and create like maybe even just a space for loads of prop boxes where I can take loads of cuttings and I can just constantly be propagating. That would be fun. That would be so fun. And do more experimenting and stuff like that. It's so easy to think about what, like, I don't know, I was feeling so productive in my mind in terms of like future plans when I was at the flat, and I was like, oh my God, when we're in the house, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And I know it is early days, but I'm like, hasn't even crossed my mind. Or has crossed my mind, but I haven't done anything about it. So yeah, I've got lots of things still that I would really, really, really like to do. I also toyed with the idea of like playing about with tissue culture a bit. Like, not necessarily even to sell things. In fact, definitely not to sell things. I don't think I would ever go back to selling plants. I found it too stressful. But just to, I don't know, just as a fun thing to try. I think it's so cool and it's so clever. And I've got so many things that I could experiment on. So yeah, that's also something that I'd really like to give a go to at some point. But yeah, there's always so many things, isn't there? But yes, that one is potted and it's so beautiful. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. And yeah, I'm gonna just very carefully monitor this one because it's one that I do feel a little bit nervous by, because growing outside of a prop box, as I say, I have struggled a little bit. So I might actually keep it. I could keep it in the prop box now that I've changed its substrate. I'd keep it in the prop box for a week or so. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that back next to the prop box to remind myself to do that, just so that I can acclimate it slowly so that it's not like change of substrate and change of environment really, really quickly. Some plants, in fact, a lot of plants will be fine with that, but sensitive ones, I think not. But then, God, I'm whizzing through things. Well done, Claire. Oh, thank you, Yoli. I got a bit too enthusiastic and scared her then. Thank you. Good girl. Yeah, another very quick, very little one to do was just to pot my teeny weeny Hoya calistophylla black cat up with the mother plant, which is here and doing so well. And I think, oh, here we go, here comes Yoli. You're gonna come through and create chaos. We've just been out for a very wet dog walk. Hello, baby girl. All right, let's mind the tail and yes, walk straight through the soil. There we go. Yes, hello, hello. Oh yes, you sweet girl. Coming in for cuddles. Yeah, I think this should be a very easy repot in the same way. Careful, I've just potted all those plants up, Yoli. But in the same way as I did with the Clarinervium, I think I should be able to just dig a little hole. Hello, sweetheart. Oh, my little tail, my little tail. Oh, God, there goes a leaf. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a shame. Look at that lovely big leaf that we just lost. You silly girl. You silly girl. That tail is a nightmare, isn't it? Okay, I think she just needs a minute of attention and then she'll go on her merry way. I'm going to carry on doing this. Are you going to help? But yeah, I've currently got this, oh there we go, goodbye, growing in a little plant that Ross made, which looks really cool like that, but it is just one extra thing to keep on top of. I've had it in sphagnum moss here for months and months and months, and it's put out new growth. It was only one leaf when it originally went in there, so I'm going to assume it's rooted. I could actually... No, I was going to say I could monitor it, but couldn't monitor it that well. Oh my God, yes, very rooted. Very rooted. And I did actually think maybe about potting the normal calistophylla up with the calistophylla black cat. That's not something I'm going to do today, just because, firstly, firstly, this one's putting out lovely new growth. Yoli's tail's just knocked off one of the new leaves, which is really sad. But yeah, this one's putting out loads of lovely new growth for me at the moment. I don't want to disrupt it while it's doing that. And also, oh, do I do both together? Well, I actually just held it there and I was like, that does look really lovely. Oh, you know what? Maybe I just do it. Maybe I just do it. Because yeah, although they do look different, how lovely would that be to have a full pot? Okay, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm going to get this little bit of the calistophylla out of moss. And it's got really great roots, but very spindly roots. So again, while I deal with the other section, I'm going to just put it in water and then I'll give it a rinse off afterwards. And this is in a jar, and I am going to have to be very careful with this bit because, as I say, oh, I'm so sad about that leaf. Darn tail. Yeah, the only annoying thing about growing things in jars with the little lip around the top is that when the root system expands, you have to be very careful not to like break the roots as you take them out. Oh, in fact, this is several sections of calistophylla in here, I didn't even realise. So I could do quite a nice mixed pot. I think I'm going to stick with this container, but I think I will unpot what I've got here and yeah, just kind of mix them up and make a nice full plant. So this has all got soil on top and then I've got semi-hydro on the bottom. So I'm going to remove the soil. Let's see if I can just carefully, oh, that was nice and easy, God. I really thought, there's so many things today that I'm like, I feel like they're going to be so much harder and then they're actually not, and that makes me happy. Okay, cool. Nice, nice, nice. So yeah, now I can just arrange them in a way that looks really lovely and pretty. And just have a lovely big pot of Calistophylla / Calistophylla black cat. Because obviously the Calistophylla black cat is just like a species variant of the Calistophylla. It's just, I mean, it looks so similar. It's just got slightly darker and more like bleeding veins. Like they kind of look more blurred together. More defined, should I say. I know that kind of contradicts the bleeding thing, but yeah, they're kind of thicker, bolder, and a little bit more bleedy. That's how I would describe it. But yeah, I'm just gonna rinse off the roots of the bit that was in sphagnum moss. Try and get as much as I can off. And then, where shall I pop this bit? I'll pop this bit in here. And then just use the soil to fill it all back in again. And this is probably one at some point that's going to want to be on a trellis, but currently it's not putting out those big long tendrils, so I'm just letting it kind of grow a bit wild. And I must say, like, I need to do some digging into different Hoya trellises because I'm just not enjoying the look of loads of my Hoyas on trellises, so I'm kind of just like praying for them not to need trellises. I much prefer ones like the Gracilis or the Hoya Bella that just, I don't know, you can almost just grow them as trailing plants and they look lovely. I know that's not realistic and you do have to work with the plant. But yeah, please let me know your Hoya trellis suggestions. Anything that you do that might be a bit unusual. I think I've said it before, but I've seen some people use rope and actually like put a piece of rope from like a corner to a corner of a room and have a plant growing across it like that. And I think that looks lovely. So maybe I'll try that. I've got several Hoyas at the moment actually that really need more trellising. Okay, cool. Oh, good choices, Claire. That looks really, really lovely. That's such a lovely full plant now, look at that. Oh, and I think the subtle difference between the Calistophylla and the Calistophylla black cat is actually really nice to see together. I usually hate combining plants. I'm usually really funny about it for some reason, but that looks lovely. See, I'm glad I did it. And then the last thing that I wanted to get done today, I've really whizzed through them, I'm very proud of myself. But the last thing that I wanted to get done today was my Apobalis. This one that I showed you in my video the other day when I was like rethinking things. This is one that I'm currently growing in soil. And the plant just hasn't been, it's been doing fine. It hasn't really grown for me in the time that I've had it. It's been putting out a ton of flowers. And structure-wise, looking at this plant, I said it the other day, but it kind of reminds me of Aglaonema. And because it's such a thirsty plant, I feel like, again, it might do better in semi-hydro. So, God, again, great roots. Look at those. Oh, crazy roots. But I'm just going to brush the soil off this plant, give the roots a rinse, give the pot a rinse. I don't, does it be a bigger pot, I wonder? Also, I say great roots. I'm not convinced all of these are great roots. I'm just kind of brushing the soil off and loads of them are just pulling away. So maybe, yeah. Maybe this is why the plant hasn't been doing as well, just because there's something going on with the roots. Oh, I see. It's a plug plant, and I bet you anything, yeah. Oh, for goodness sake. It's got netting around its roots, so that's why. Why do people do this? Yeah, you can still see, some of the netting's kind of pulled off, but you can see, can you see on camera? The plug bit where its roots haven't spread. This could well be why it's stuck in flowering mode. This is now making me question whether or not I put it in semi-hydro. But I've done it now. I think I will. I also, I haven't been loving growing this plant, I'm not gonna lie. It's one that I think is beautiful to look at, but I haven't been finding it particularly rewarding. And I think just having a bit of a shift up, why not? Like, what have I got to lose? There are plenty of roots here as well that do look pretty healthy. So we'll see. God, this is a much smaller root system than I anticipated though, my God. I think that's all of the netting off. That netting is just evil stuff, it really is. I just don't understand why they can't make it out of, I don't know, something like make netting out of something like Hoya or something that is going to biodegrade over time. Because do you remember as well, again, like if you've watched my old videos, I had a plant, I think it was my Scindapsus trubii Moonlight, and it wasn't growing for ages. And granted, that is quite a slow plant to grow. But I eventually took it out and looked at its roots, and not only, it wasn't just netting, it had like a metal pot on it, like a little metal pot that had been potted inside the bigger pot. And I was like, no wonder the plant's so unhappy. It's technically growing in like a 4 centimetre pot or something. It was ridiculous. And I mean, I know that they bash houseplants out very quickly, a lot of these places that are just in it for a quick buck, but it's so sad. It just means that so many plants end up suffering. And also so many people that buy the plants just think, oh, well, I'm obviously really bad with plants. And it's like, no, you're probably not. It's just that they haven't necessarily been set up to grow in a good way. It's always so funny, like whenever I chat to people or I meet people and I tell them what I do, they're like, oh my God, like that's so cool, I'm so bad with plants. And everyone is always like, oh God, I'm awful with plants. And I'm like, no, you're not awful with plants. Like I used to, I used to think I was awful with plants. I still to this day kill plants from time to time, despite the fact that I dedicate most of my life to it. And that doesn't mean I'm bad with plants. I think it's just the fact that we're not, like when you buy a plant, you're not educated in how to look after it. They often come with like a silly little label being like water twice a week, and I'm like, that's the most inaccurate information possible. It's just setting you up to fail, and they don't care if you fail because you're going to go back and you're going to probably buy another plant. So if anything, it's kind of in their best interest. I've bought succulents before and I've looked at the label and it's been like bright indirect light and water once a week. I'm like, that would kill any succulent, in my opinion. In my climate, that would kill the succulent, because some of my succulents I don't water for, like cacti and succulents, I don't water for like a month or 2, sometimes even 3. In fact, one of my cacti that I've never got an accurate ID on, but it's a really, really fuzzy, furry one that a lovely guy on my Patreon actually found on the side of the street and was like, I'm gonna rehab it, and then sent me a bit. So yeah, thank you, Francesco, if you're watching. But yeah, I didn't water that one all over winter. I think it went 5 months without a drink, and it's fine. So yeah, it's a shame that we're not given more information, and so many people just think that they're bad with plants. I still don't feel like I've caught the outdoor gardening bug. I haven't had that much time to actually get outside and enjoy it, to be honest. I have, hopefully in the next week or two, got a garden video coming with Ross, because bless Ross, he has fallen in love with outdoor gardening. Like, anytime he's got a little bit of time off, he's like, oh, gotta get out and water the garden, or like he'll be out there doing like various projects he's doing. He's planning some like pretty epic things for the garden, and it's so lovely. But yeah, like I've spent a bit of time out there with him, but most of our like days off, I'm like, I either need to be watering in here and keeping on top of things in here because it has been so hot, or I just want to go outside and sit and relax. So I haven't planted anything. I've removed a lot of bindweed because we have got bindweed galore out there. But yeah, I'm just enjoying watching various things just pop up and just seeing what happens out in the garden, because we've got these beautiful, or in fact they're starting to die off now, that's a shame, but these beautiful peonies that are popping up. And I know the advice from a lot of you guys was, when you get the garden, like, just give it a year to like figure out what actually comes up naturally, and then you'll know what to get rid of and like what not to get rid of. And clearly at some point in the past, whoever lived here did really love the garden and put quite a lot of time into it, because there's loads of beautiful things that are popping up and it's lovely. It's just so nice, but I just don't quite know where to get started with it. And yeah, I'm currently just feeling a bit lost with it all, but hopefully I get into it. But I was going to say, I'm just going to rinse out the pot that this was in before, and then I can do the semi-hydro transfer. Cool, nice clean pot. And then again, for the time being, I know I said the other day, I'm not a massive fan of this pot, and I'm not. But it doesn't have drainage and I can use it as just like a reservoir pot to keep this plant happy. In fact, let's do it like this. So again, got as much soil off as I can. It's the majority, I'm not too worried. That's what the roots are looking like. So yeah, more sparse than I initially anticipated, but the ones that it's got there actually are really healthy. And I've said it before, often just having a root prune of your plants can be a really good way to stimulate new growth. So maybe this is kind of what the plant's been needing. Maybe it will kick into action now and it will start doing really good things. I do hope so. I really hope so. But let's wait and see. Cool. Okay. And then again, I will just fill a little reservoir. All out of water, so I'll fill it a little bit more after this. But hopefully now, that just allows the plant to start giving me some more healthy growth. And I do hope that I kind of fall in love with it, because it's so pretty. I was so excited when I first got that plant. But that's the reset that I wanted to give it, and if I don't feel that way about it in a month or two, then cool, I will find it a new home. But that's very much everything that I wanted to get through today. I feel pretty proud of myself because I was just struggling to get started a bit today. It always feels so good when I'm able to chat it through with you guys, and yeah, I feel like I've got so much done. So I really hope you were doing stuff as well. I hope you got through loads. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, as always, please feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.